The beatings took place inside a squat, dark, cinder-block building they called the White House. It was on the grounds of the Florida Industrial School for Boys in Marianna, Florida. Decades later, the survivors are speaking out. They call themselves the WhotehouseBoys. A half-century ago, they were taken to Florida's oldest reform school, a beautiful place with manicured lawns and ball fields amid the rolling hills and stately pines of rural North Florida. They thought it looked like a college campus. But the red brick walls hid a shameful secret.
The only time that you were taken to what they call the White House was a building where they beat you. And when I say beat you, I'm not talking about a spanking. I'm talking about beating till your underwear was beaten into your buttocks and had to be surgically removed, which is what happened to me.
When you looked at this place, you never could imagine the horror that the bucolic nature of it hid. It looked like a college campus. Dormitories, well-cut lawns, beautiful gardens, a gymnasium for the high school basketball team, a marching band. I mean, you would never consider what lay beneath this was a nightmare.
Michael O. McCarthy, who was sent to the reform school in 1958 when he was 17 years old, remembers one of his beatings.
If you were me, he said, I'd put the corner of that pillow in your mouth and turn your head to the wall. So you don't scream and don't try to get up off this bed or you'll get more. And then the last thing this man said to me was, boy, you're not going to believe this, but this is going to hurt me more than it does you. And that's when he swung the first blow. It sounded like a shotgun going off. It was in this hollow room of all concrete, but you heard it in there, and it was like a shotgun. It was like taking a two-barrel shotgun and firing off. That was the sound of it. And the first one, I remember, drove me and the bed down, and it came back up, and he was able to time it. He had been beating so many boys for so long that the son of a bitch was able to time when the spring would bring you back up, so he could match the swing. And he beat me, and he continued to beat me, and he beat me, and he continued to beat me, and he beat me, and he continued to beat me, until long after I lost count of how many that he'd beaten me with. And then finally, it was over, and I'd lost count, I think, around 38 or 40 of these. I don't remember very well. And then he said, all right, get up. And I tried to stand up, and I couldn't stand up. I didn't have any strength in my legs or in my back. I couldn't move. My pants were full of blood, and blood was running down my legs. And I think the reason they didn't want you to scream was because it got to them. I think the sound of you screaming somehow reached inside of them and caused them to recognize what they were doing to you, that they just couldn't beat you like you were an object if you were screaming with the kind of pain that you had.
In 1959, Roger Kaiser, who was abandoned by his mother when he was 4, was sent to the reform school after he ran away from a Jacksonville orphanage.
I knew there was no way that the Florida School for Boys at Marianna, being a state-run institution, could possibly be as bad as the Children's Home Society in Jacksonville, Florida. And boy, was I mistaken. I knew that this large leather strap that had a piece of sheet metal sewn in between two halves of leather was underneath the pillow. I felt it slide out. I heard somebody breathe. I turned over real fast and started to jump up, and I saw this look on this guy's face, and I knew he was going to beat me to death. There was no doubt in my mind whatsoever. I tried to jump off the bed. One of the men grabbed me. The other man slapped me in the face with the leather strap, and again, blood went everywhere, all over the walls, all over the bed. That embedded in my mind what humanity was really like. that I was just a piece of crap. And I'd better get that through my head. And they got it through my head.
A third survivor, Robert Straley, was taken to the White House in 1963, the day he entered the reform school.
What it did was it turned me black and blue, and then you had pinholes of blood all over you because of the force of the whip. It caused the skin to explode at some point. Now that was just 35 lashes. If you ran, you got 100. And 100 lashes is beyond my imagination to this day. And when they're hitting you on the same spot and they've, already broken the skin or bruised you, you're in some serious pain. And I went out of there in shock. I know, it was just, looking back on it, it's just like a nightmare. You just can't imagine that people would do that.
There's personally, to me, nothing been done worse. They destroyed my childhood. I've been able to cauterize the wound of what they've done to me, but it's done something to me that I can never get over. I can't get over this. This is beyond, it's as if they raped me.
I look at my grandchildren, and I was about their age when all this was happening to me, when it all started. And I think, how could anybody do that to me? How could anybody do that to any child? How could they do it,
And, when you inflict that much pain and brutality on a child, they're traumatized for life, period. It's irreversible, and basically what you're creating is a mini monster.
I said, I looked right at this man, whoever he was. I said, one day, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to tell people about what you're doing here. And he pointed his finger at me, and he says, buddy, that's a good way to wake up dead tomorrow morning, mister.
What can I say? It was just a very bad place to be.